Welcome to Rovaniemi, the capital city of Lapland and hometown of Santa Claus, proudly welcomes you to Arctic Design Week. Rovaniemi enjoys 8 seasons and beautiful nature. The region overflows with expertise and creativity. This is the 5th Rovaniemi Design Week, the world's northernmost design week, and is all about crazy ideas, creativity and a strong belief in ourselves and our region. This year the theme for the Design Week is Arctic Lives. Living in the Arctic, its harsh conditions, how we survive here, and how we manage to do successful business. We think it's all about design. Arctic design. Welcome to the second day of Rovaniemi Design Week's Arctic Lives seminar. Today's theme is Arctic Community. We will hear stories about internationalization, Arctic design, and societal aspects. Let's warmly welcome the producer of Rovaniemi Design Week, Julius Orfosaart.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome. This is the second day of the Arctic Live seminar, like you heard. And, well, I'm not going to speak a lot, but you know, if you use Twitter, the hashtag is Arctic Lives. Surprise, surprise. And if you have to go to toilet, just go outside and write, and walk and walk and walk, and you are going to find the toilet. This is clear for you. Great. But please enjoy, and Minna, Parikka, stage is yours.
Design, Minna spent the next 6 years living, working and finding inspiration in London, Milan and Barcelona. She returned to her native Helsinki in 2005 to launch the Minna Parikka brand. A lifetime shoe lover herself, Minna creates designs that combine elements of surrealism, playfulness and contemporary design in all colours one can imagine. The Helsinki-based designers' accessories have graced the feet and bodies of women all over the world, including Lady Gaga, Fergie, Paloma Faith and Beth Ditto. Ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker is Minna Parikka.
No? No. Use your voice.
And you cannot see me either.
No.
No.
Everything is fine.
All right. Any better?
Yes.
Yay. All right. So, good morning, everybody. Really nice to see that the auditorium is nearly full. So I guess there's not much for me to tell after that introduction, but I'll try anyway. So my name is Minna Parikka, and I design under my own brand that carries my own name. It's a brand that pushes from Helsinki, that is known for its fun, flirty, playful, and wearable women's shoes. The idea of the shoes is that the head is in the clouds, but the feet are on the ground. They are kind of like love letters from a heavy wearer of high heels to another. So there's a strong element of wearability. Even though the heels are really high, I always want to do things that are a little bit more comfortable, a little bit easier to wear, even though it doesn't show to the outside. I want to be wearing shoes and high heels when I'm 70, so I don't want to ruin my feet. At the moment, my brand is stocked in 20 different countries. I've been doing this for 7 years. We just opened our second new flagship shop last year, 3 months ago. Our press visibility worldwide is quite well covered. Elle's, Vogue's, Marie Claire's, you can just name it. And the celebrity endorsement, as you heard before, is quite all right as well. Well, basically where it all started is from my dream. It was my teenage dream. When I was 15, my sister wrote an article about Andre Pfister, the shoe designer to a women's magazine. And it was like a lightning would have struck me, like, wow, somebody can just think about shoes all day long. Like, I definitely want to do that for the rest of my life. And after high school, or sixth form, I moved to the UK to study footwear design in De Montfort University for 3 years. I stayed abroad for 6 years, working for others, traveling, searching, living in London, living in Barcelona, living in Milan, kind of like getting the feel of what's happening out there. And I think this is the most important base for an international career, that you have an like a curiosity towards things that are happening outside your own country. And another thing that I would say that it has played a really important role was that when I worked in Milan for a small men's footwear label, where I was the only designer, and I worked really closely with the brand manager. So I kind of like got an idea what needs to be done to be able to run a footwear business. Then I got really homesick when I was 25. That was 7 years ago, and I returned back to my hometown, Helsinki, which I thought that I would never ever do. And I started my own business. I kind of thought that it's not possible to sell this kind of product to a Finnish customer, that it needs to be taken outside. So internationality was really the base of the brand, kind of the thought of it, that I need to travel, I need to pack my suitcase full of shoes and go from kind of door to door, from a retailer to another, from an appointment to another, from a trade show to another, and show the collection and be present abroad as well. And for the 3 first years, I pretty much did that on my own. Just going to trade shows. The most trade shows I did in a season, which is like a couple of months period, was six trade shows within Europe and the US. Luckily nowadays it's a little bit different, so I do have a small team, like not a big one, but at least there's more of us, so I won't need to be like traveling so much from with the shoes. The first customer that I received was a Japanese retailer, and that was from Paris Fashion Week. That was spring 2006. So the first collection came out autumn-winter 2006. And ever since, I've been pushing and pushing it internationally. Also, as I mentioned before, the press visibility abroad is really important to be international. We have a quite wide press visibility in Finland, but it's also important to do things outside and to be visible. Of course, like people cannot buy your product if they don't know about it, and retailers don't want to get your product in their shop if they don't know about it. Then this is my absolute favorite slide, actually. Our celebrity endorsement within Finland is quite good. So here you see the first lady of Finland wearing a clutch bag from me, and then Lady Gaga, who I designed a double platinum award for her with 3 days notice. So here you can kind of like see the customer and the diversity of people who can like fall in love within the brand, which is really important as well, because it is a niche market footwear and accessory brand that needs that kind of like little bit wider kind of follow-up. Then other things that that actually ended up in Lady Gaga's foot as well was a collaboration that I did last year with Jani Leinonen, the artist who's like famed for like quite provocative illustrations that he does of corporate mascots. So we did a collaboration for Amos Anderson Museum of Art that was it wasn't 50 pairs of shoes. It was an installation of the shoes and a whole space with the print on the walls and on the shoes. So we took like one piece of art, which was a pair in size 37, that we gave to Lady Gaga as well. That was seen on her feed on Terry Richardson's blog. So things like this are really important as well. You need to have like constant flow of things that people are talking about. The blogs can write about, the magazines can write about. So it kind of like keeps the brand fresh. It's really, I feel like if a brand doesn't have news every couple of months or every month something's happening, it stays still. Like if you talk about only things that happened a few years ago, it's a clear sign that that brand is not moving forward and it's not really current. So the first collection came out 6.5 years ago, or 7.5? Yeah, 6.5 years ago. And kind of like, since the very beginning, I created something that we still sell today. So it's that this is like the style that is the most recognizable from the brand. Heart shape cut out with heart shaped laces, really kind of familiar shape that people can understand. It's a classic shoe, but with something different, something that people can fall in love with. So every season I do like a variation of the same model, different heel, different construction, different materials, different color combinations. Since then, quite a lot has happened. It's also really important to keep up with the time and refresh the style, to do things out of your comfort zone, out of maybe even sometimes out of your customer's comfort zone. That's the only way to keep the brand interesting. That you keep something, some elements, for example, that heart shoe, that you keep that in the collection so the loyal fans will recognize it, but then on top of that you create something that people can go a bit like, I'm not sure if that is really that brand, I'm not sure if that is really Minna Parikka, but slowly with time that will be the brand and look like the brand. So these are pictures from the spring-summer collection. There you can see a little bit like heavier constructions that I've ever done before, with acrylic heel, a wooden platform, a bit more bulky. This is also from the spring-summer, like current season. You can see quite like obviously Art Deco influence. The shoes are quite feminine, but the shapes have gone a little bit bulkier. Heavy platforms, double platforms, a bit more bulkier heels, but still keeping the DNA of the brand that is fun, flirty, colourful. No matter what season it is, it's always colourful and that. This is actually something that I haven't really shown yet. This is from the next collection, so autumn winter 2013. A lot of glitter, fun, party, high heels, bunny ears, like just having fun. Like things are so serious anyway, so why shouldn't women want to have fun with their accessories? It's such an easy and light-hearted thing to do. Another example from the autumn winter collection, like a little bit bulkier, but always the color. The color is the core, and also the material combinations, shiny, matte, natural, unnatural. Then, of course, in every business there's downsides and the difficulties. Like manufacturing of anything making shoes shouldn't be rocket science, but it can be quite tricky. Shoes are the most difficult product in fashion to manufacture. There's several, like tens and tens of different components that go into one pair of shoes, and there's tens of people that touch the shoe before it ends up to the shelf of the shop. The lead time in fashion is quite fast for footwear. From like once we get the orders from the customer, there is around 4 months time for us to manufacture everything, and most of the time, most of the collection is new. I hardly recycle styles. Only like maybe 30% of the collections are recycled. So basically taking an existing last with an existing pattern that I've done previously, changing the materials and just kind of like making life a little bit easier. But 70% is the difficult part, like inventing the wheel all over and over and over again. And this is like the total nightmare for a manufacturer. And also, my brand is quite small still, so it's difficult to get that foothold within the manufacturing process. There is huge labels that place massive orders in one color and one style, and then there's us going like, yeah, we got these really difficult shoes that like have so many different details going on to them, so many different materials in one collection. And we have very small quantities compared to these massive like fashion houses and more kind of high streety kind of product. And the competition is quite fierce as well within the market. So we have a global market, so we are against, or we are competing with all the big fashion labels that have shoes, and of course, like how can you compete with that? We come from Finland. We don't have that kind of hype about Finnish fashion really. And on top of that, we are competing against or with all the small brands that come from each and every country from the world, and we are placed at the same trade shows, trying to get into the same shops, and so the competition is really fierce. The only way to get a foothold in this kind of market is to have a product that stands out, something that others don't have, like its details. It can be the aspect that it fits a certain type of foot or a certain type of wearer, where the market isn't exaggerated. But for example, when you take a shoe like this that has a little bit more wider last and is kind of like thinking about like tiny little comfort elements, like tiny little bit, because of course when you talk about 12 centimeter heels, they can never be like running shoes. So people, like for example in France and Italy, they really don't care. But luckily we have we do have like countries who are into that kind of things as well. Then the team is most important. The people that are around me, and for any business, this should be the core. Especially in a small business where I am the designer, the art director, and the CEO, and anything that has to be done within the company. It is important to get people that are strong enough to put themselves in the stake. They need to have a mentality of an entrepreneur, some people who you can trust. So basically, there's five of us that work full time, and two who work part time. So there's me that is only concentrating on the visual part, on the product. And then I have one doing international sales, one doing international marketing, and rest of the girls are working in the shop. So pretty much. For me, it's important to be an entrepreneur as well, besides being a designer. I think it would be really boring just to be a designer, just to sit at the table or move around and just do the visual things. It's important to also have the excitement of doing business and doing the heartbeat of the work, like getting the product out there. the most important things that I would say about how to succeed in this kind of business is having a strong intuition and listening to it, making quick decisions, being spontaneous. So you get a feeling or idea about something and going for it straight away. Like, okay, that opportunity rise up, and I need to go for it straight away, because like in 5 minutes it could be that it's gone. And also another thing that I think that is really important in being going international is being out of your comfort zone and being quite comfortable being out of your comfort zone. That you're constantly pushing yourself, that going for things that don't feel so so pleasant to you, in a way that you need to listen to your intuition in that way, that you feel that this needs to be done, but you do it even though you feel like you're really pushing your courage into doing it. I have no idea how long I've been talking, but anyway, so this is our flagship shop that we opened three months ago, and this is kind of like the present of the brand. And I would say that this is the thing that I'm most proud of so far within my career. People always ask me what's the biggest highlights of my career, and I always say that it's kind of like you take 3 steps forward and then you take 2 steps backwards. So the success or feeling that it's worthwhile consists from small development and kind of like small successes constantly. But this I would say that is the big one that we made lately. So this is in Aleksanterinкatu in Helsinki, in the very like slap bang in the middle of Helsinki, 85 square meters. It's called modestly Minna Parikka Universum. So it's important that the shoes and the accessories have a home, have a place that resembles the spirit of the brand. And this is also like, this allows me as a designer to go further, to be more experimental, fill my universe with things, with more things, new products, new kind of things, because I will always have a place where I can sell even the bit more experimental things. My future plans are still the same as 7 years ago when I started to grow an internationally known brand. 7 years is a really short time within fashion business, and I think it has been a really good start, but in my books this is just the start, and we still have a lot to do and a lot of things to conquer and to do better. But basically my motto is that dreams are to be lived, so always when you catch one dream, then it goes further, or you get other dreams. Thank you.
Director of Deveron Arts, Claudia Zeiske is a freelance creator and cultural activist. Originally from Germany, she studied economics and social anthropology in Berlin and London. Since coming to Scotland in 1995, she has collaborated with many smaller and larger organisations across Scotland and further afield. She is a co-founder and director of Deveron Arts and has set up the acclaimed Artists at Glenfiddich programme in rural Speyside. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Claudia Zeiske.
Hello. Okay, 1 second. Okay. Hello. Can you a hard thing to follow. Yeah, I wanted to first thank people for inviting me here today. I was asked to talk about the communities in the Arctic, but it's quite difficult for me because I have never been in the Arctic before. I am based in a very small place in Scotland that I'll talk about in a minute. And in order to understand better how to talk about the Arctic, I decided to come by train from this place. It's in the north of Scotland. I started on Saturday and arrived yesterday, and forgive my shoes because I had to be practical. Anyway, this is a place called Huntly in Scotland, and it is about 4,000 people. And it is not Arctic, but it is probably as long to get to as this is. We are in the northwest corner of Europe, and you're here in the northeast. And there's 4,000 people in Huntly, and I'm running this place called Deveron Arts, which where we created this slogan called "The town is the venue," and so as the slogan says, we haven't got a gallery, but we take the town as the gallery and as the exhibition place and as the event place. So we use all kind of found spaces, and often I say it's the second largest gallery in Britain, because it takes, in the Tate Modern, you need to take 10 minutes to walk from one end to the next, and in ours you need to do that as well. So this is my gallery from inside, and this is my gallery from, oh, sorry. Anyway, so I have to get used to this thing first. So you have the gallery from inside, and you have the gallery from outside. And what we do is we have created what I call a cultural audit. We have also written a book about this called Autocracy that I take you a little bit through, and a cultural where we really analyze what makes this town tick. And here's the town from a Google map thing. And what is really important in our thinking is this 50-50 approach. So it's 50% community and 50% artist, and 50 local and 50 global. So it's always that we have a professional edge and a contemporary edge, as well as this community edge. And this conundrum is what makes the town tick. So this seems to be jumping here now all the time. Anyway, I'll take you through a number of projects, and I'll probably talk quite fast because that's how you get sort of the gist to it. Here, this was an artist called Colonel. He's a French artist, and he measures people's identity. So he came along a few years ago and asked 250 people in the town randomly how Scottish they are. And here, so you see them, a few of those. Saying how Scottish they are. So they had to very quickly say their number. And it is quite interesting because in Scotland, people are really proud of being Scottish. So a lot of them, 90% of the people, said that they are 100% Scottish. And some, you would be surprised. But those ones who are not, who are 0% Scottish, they tend to be English. So this shows quite a lot about the identity of the town. But he did that, for example, also in Germany, and in Germany people often don't want to be seen as German. So only 20% of the people say they're 100% German. So they say, well, we watch a lot of TV, and therefore we're also a bit American. She's actually called Pat Scott, but this has nothing really to do with it. Because we have no, I'm sorry, I have to deal with this here because this seems to be jumping this show. As I said, we have no gallery, so we have to use for unusual spaces. And this one is Pat Scott. She's the editor of the Huntly Express, and we for this show we used the Huntly Express, the middle pages as the gallery for that week. So the show was on for a whole week. And we have now a town collection of 65 pieces of all the artists who come here. They leave a piece behind. It does not much value attached. And this is in her offices. So you see all these people that were exhibited for a week in the local press. Okay. Now, another project we have, we deal a lot with either with heritage projects, with environmental projects, socio-economic projects, or projects that deal with the identity of the town. And I'm talking to you now about a heritage project. This is this writer called George MacDonald. And George MacDonald is a Victorian writer and went in and out with C.S. Lewis and Tolkien. But then he got a bit forgotten after the war. And even in Huntly, hardly anybody knows about him. And we wanted to revive him again. But how to do that if you're a contemporary art organization? So we were thinking hard, what have we nowadays got to do in common with George MacDonald? And one thing was the water, and we didn't really know what to do with that. And then we came across a picture from the Gordon Schools, that's our local academy. And they made in the 50s this really big school photograph. And we thought, well, let's try to beat that. And because what we have in common with George MacDonald, that everybody in Huntly went to the same school over the years. And let's try to beat that. And so we made an international call out for all the Scottish diaspora, for people who want to come onto this school photograph, who have ever been to the Gordon Schools, they could come. On those who couldn't come, they would be represented by a mask of George MacDonald. And so what happened is we invited them, and on the day, about 1,000 people came, and about another 1,000 people said they would have loved to come. They wrote from New Zealand and from Canada and France and wherever, and they all had to be represented by George MacDonald. And in the end, this picture is that thin, but it is 10 meters long, and it is hanging now in the Gordon Schools as a town collection piece. Okay, so sorry, I'm doing this really fast. So this is an environmental project, and what has been an issue ever since I moved there, which is now 16 years ago, is the impending wind farms that we're getting. Because we have a lot of wind, so they think this is a perfect place to put all the wind farms. But a lot of people who live there, they get quite upset, particularly because of the visual impact. Now, we didn't want to be seen as a pro or against wind farms, but what we realized was missing was a fair debate. And so we engaged these environmental artists who then came up with this one big picture. This is just the wing of, the artist is actually on the right-hand side, and this is just the wing of one windmill, one wind turbine. And this is that was built at the time when the artists were with us. The artists are just normally 3 months with us, and they come from all over the world. But of course, this can vary. Now they came up with this one big picture, and then we put that in 12 places across Britain in the cities, because there's always this feeling that the cities need so much energy and the countryside has to pick up the bill. So this is at Glasgow railway station, but you could find it in London and in Newcastle and Liverpool and in Edinburgh, this thing. And also there was one bill then at the place where this wind farm is going to be built, and finally, this is actually quite a few years ago, it is being built as we speak. And so the exhibition opening was actually totally in the countryside. You had to walk for a mile to get to it from the last spot where the bus could get to. And it was quite interesting, all these people from Edinburgh coming in high heels, having to walk through the mud for the exhibition opening. And then when we arrived, the cows were licking it. So this is a project we did quite a few years ago. We have a lot of empty shops, and I just brought that in, because there's Eva here somewhere in the audience who traveled with me on the train to here. But also because the empty shop seems to be, I'm sorry that this is jumping here all the time. The empty shops is a problem that have a lot of other European towns, smaller towns have that in common. And we had that then, and it is still an issue. Anyway, Eva was tasked to look at this empty shop issue, and she had a lot of ideas. And the first thing she did with her material budget is to rent herself an empty shop as a studio space, and came up with all these ideas. But at the end, we had to say, well, hone down on something. So she took this one shop that had been empty already for 20 years, and made it very pretty. So don't worry, the sky isn't competing in Huntly with yours here in Lapland. So it doesn't look always so nice. We have a lot of rain. But anyway, she honed in on this one shop, and called it the first empty shop monument of Britain. There she is, walking, climbing up onto the roof of the empty shop and declared it as the empty shop monument. And then she made all these kind of memorabilia, empty shop mugs and posters, and empty shop firelighters, and empty shop T-shirt, and so on, as if it was a real famous monument. And it was quite interesting how people actually bought that stuff, you know. So anyway, here next is, I don't know whether you have that in Lapland. It would be interesting for me to know, but I think it is happening in a lot of rural places. I'm originally from Austria, and there it happens as well. We have a lot of cruisers. And these cruisers, they go around Huntly, particularly on the weekend, but they start really exhilarating Friday night. And they drive around the town. Some of them, we got this artist from Berlin called Jelka Plate. And she found out that some of them drive 500 miles around Huntly every weekend. Now this is as almost, you can almost get to London for that. They don't even go up to the coast, which is only 20 miles away. They just go around Huntly. And then they meet on this parking space and talk to each other, a bit like sort of sardines. And so what she found, and a lot of people are very annoyed at it because it's not really dangerous, but it makes a lot of noise and it's slightly scary because they can drive quite fast through the town. And so what she found out is really what they're missing is they need to find something that both the people like, that hate the cruisers, and that the cruisers themselves like. And so what she did a drive-in cinema. And here is James Dean, Rebels Without a Cause. And you won't believe it, it was really busy. Actually, people had to park on the street because the car park in Huntly isn't big enough. But in the front, we placed the cruiser so they could cruise away quickly because they were always quite restless, and then they could join the cinema again. So, and here, this is when we had then the book launch of her book, and that's in a local garage. This picture is just in to show you that we can make use of any possible space. And the fact that we don't have a gallery really frees us. The moment you have a building, it's expensive. You have to heat it and you have to man it, and for us it is really liberating that we don't have to have a building. We can just always fit something in with the town. So this is an artist from Glasgow, Jackie Donaghy, and another environmental project is that we in Britain we really are quite backwards when it comes to cycle lanes, and the place would be ideal for cycling. And we invite often the artists also to bring their families, so she brought her children, and the boy had a cycle proficiency, and the first note he gets home is saying, yeah, you have your cycle proficiency, but you're not allowed to cycle to school. And the reason is because of the safety issue. And so what she tried to do is she identified what would be the best cycle lane. She made a 6-kilometer cycle lane and made just a one-day festival. And then what people got, they got these kind of devices. You can see them. Sorry, I don't know how to point this out here. But for example, here on the right, you see it yellow underneath the bicycle here. They have it all. So it's a 2-liter water bottle upside down, and on the bottom has a brush, and if she filled it with all kind of colored chalk. And then as people started cycling, they were drawing the cycle lane, if you understand what I'm... So that was just a fun day, and then we had a cycle lane for the day, and then the next day the rain came and washed it all away again. And she also created these bicycles that everybody, at bicycle amnesty, so all the broken bikes came in and people that didn't need the bike anymore, and so she made these town bikes that are, well, they're not as great as the ones in Berlin and London, but anyway, we give them to people in Tesco and in the schools, so if they need to quickly cycle to a Tesco at their lunch break, they can use them. Now there's a project called Art Cup, and it's an artist, I think I found a trick. If I go back, that stays. And yeah, we always talk, for us, the first thing is the topics, what makes the town tick. And so it's not, in other art organizations, it's more what the artist, but we look first at the topic. It's an anthropological approach, and myself coming from an anthropology background rather than an art background. And then, so anyway, people were always asking me, oh, why don't you do something about football? And for me, football is, the idea of football was always my husband on a Sunday afternoon on the couch, and I could just look too stupid walking through the room, and I didn't want to. But anyway, then there was the Football World Cup in Germany in 2006, and I came across this artist who wanted to do an art cup, and basically with all these, with a team, the Scottish team was refused for the World Cup, and he wanted to find another team, and he found a Danish team who was also refused to come to the losers. It's called Salon du Refusé. And so we invited 13 Scottish artists who are also footballers, and 13 Danish artists who are also footballers, or footballers who are also artists, to come to town. So 26 artists, lots of nice legs, so the boys in town got quiet and worried, and here they are piped into the Huntly Football Club. And then anyway, it's a bit longer story, but we had then the match, and we also had a mini World Cup with all the small local schools. This actually has nothing to do with the World Cup. It's actually, or we already have the next World Cup. But anyway, well, a big issue. We are really in a farming area, but because of all these health and safety regulations and something, even the farmers hardly eat their own meat anymore. And so we wanted just to discuss this more. So they almost just eat their meat from Tesco. And there's this artist who actually brings the Aberdeen Angus, which is the most famous beef. This is coming from our area. We are in Aberdeenshire, into the supermarket. And now, here, it's coming. And and afterwards, every project we have a discussion. And here this discussion takes place in a big greenhouse. So when the discussion steams up, the greenhouse steams up as well. And I just brought that picture in because I think almost every project afterwards, where we bring together locality and the artistic side and people from the specialists from that kind of field that we are discussing. Now this is another heritage project. Interesting, we have quite a few, although it's a very small town, we have quite a few I do this trick again. People who went out into the world and did something really important. And this man is called James Lake. I mean, quite a lot of them went out as missionaries, and I found that worrying at the beginning. But basically, that's what people studied at the time. But then actually, they did something quite different. Well, didn't work my trick. So this guy is called James Lake. He went to China, and he stayed there for 30 years. And he actually then didn't really work too much on promoting the Bible, or got really, really interested in the Chinese classics. And he translated 100 books, including the Confucius and the Tao books and the I Ching. And then he brought 3 scholars to Huntly to get them to learn English. And then they went back to help him with all these translations. And so within sinology, he became a very, very important person. I always put this picture here because all his books are written like this. There's the Chinese, underneath the English, and then this other stuff is how he also could have translated it. So he became a really important man, not just in translating these books, but also about thinking about the value of translation, how you can actually manipulate meaning and context. And so if you talk with sinologists today, they have this, as other people, as theologists would have the Bible, they have this on their desk, these books from James Lake. Now in Huntly, nobody knows about them. And so I work a lot with international artists. I went to China and find the artists that I thought would be the right ones. And we invited them, and what they wanted to do, they wanted to give him a proper burial, because he was buried in Oxford. He in the end became the professor of sinology in Oxford, but he wanted to give him a proper burial. He was also the first one who introduced a newspaper to China. The first one that democracy actually was given a chance that information came from below rather than from above. And so they made this huge ship out of newspaper, which became the coffin, the metaphorical coffin. And then they brought the Chinese diaspora and Scottish people together and gave him this funeral. Now, and people are going down to the river. Sorry, I'm missing a picture here. That might have slipped somewhere. But anyway, and there they burn the coffin, and then he is finally given this memorial. And so everybody in Huntly does know him now. This funeral might be somewhere else in the presentation. Now, I don't know about the Arctic, but anyway, in Scotland we have a reputation and a problem, and that is with alcohol. Friday, Saturday night, it gets quite happy and then quite rowdy later on at night. And so we had this artist who wanted to create a project called Music for Street Fights. He dressed up a car as it is how Grampian Police looks like, and instead of Grampian Police, it looks like it says Music for Street Fights. And then he handed out business cards and posters, and the people would phone him as soon as a fight occurs, and he would come with his car and play the music. He played Enrico Morricone, and was so there was quite an issue around town because they thought we are celebrating street fights, and all the street fighters from the neighboring town would come to Huntly, and now this is the capital of street fights. So now, of course, this is never what occurred to me because I actually didn't know these street fights are there happening really late at night, and I'm far too middle class to walk about in town then. So in fact, in the end, we teamed up with the police, and they a bit, when you look at these pictures, they were sort of sitting together like the cruisers, like sardines, all day night, waiting for these fights to occur. Ooh, there's a bit more. Here's the coffin. So here's the burial. So finally we found that. Now, in fact, this is also started by a heritage program. Another man that came from Huntly, and I'm only saying that because I think if people look deep through the cultural audit, what has their town to offer, and look a bit more being a tourist in your own place, they find the most amazing people who did something special. So we invited this Spanish artist who is interested in mapping, and this man in the 17th century was one of the first cartographers. He was the first man who drew Scotland, which is fascinating. If you live in Huntly and you don't know, you can't imagine where Glasgow is or something, or let alone Lapland. So we got this person, this artist, and what she done, she wanted to do a community mapping exercise. She got all these stones painted in different colors, and the red meant I don't like this place, and the blue meant I like this place, and the green meant I have a good memory of this place, and so on. And then people served themselves with bags, and they walked around town and put it around town. So here, red places, colorful places, people were, and then, for example, this is the library, which had every color, and this is the bookshop, which had only sort of the positive colors. So anyway, that was quite nice. And when they came back, there was a big map on the square, and they had stickers, and they had to put on the stickers what they liked and what they not in their different 5 colors. So so it now shows quite, I don't know if I have one more picture here, it shows quite well what's important in the town and so on. And this piece is now with the Huntly Development Trust, and they use it a lot for their conferences and things like that to really visualize where are the issues and what are the places that people like in our town. This is a recent project. Scotland, I don't know, probably, I don't know, it's not very famous for its cuisine. And we have a lot of health issues, obesity and heart problems and so, and really it's going out is not an easy task. And so we wanted to bring in this artist who is really thinking a lot about food, and he made this thing called Ministry of Menus, and wanted to create a signature menu for the town. And so here, a menu under construction. He was for 3 months. He made this special table where he went around town. Here's at Tesco's, but he would go into the school. He would sit on the square. He would go into any kind of place, the old people's home, to find out what is it that people actually like to eat, and sort of find out what is the really good stuff, and create this menu that actually then can be merged with something that is healthy, but also that, for example, tourists would like to eat, and so here's his special table. He created that. He got that created from a craftsman. So it's like puzzles of different food items. And there, at the end, he had the launch of the signature menu. And in the end, he managed to get 10 places, catering outlets, hotels, to adopt this signature menu. And but this project only recently finished, so I'm praying that this is going to be with us for a while. Now, as I said, we have a lot of artists from all over the world. Here we have a Brazilian artist who just left us now, but we had artists from India, from the Congo, from Palestine, and I think this is really important to us to also, it is essentially still a quite white place, and to bring artists in from all over the place, because when you come new into a place, you see things that other people who live there and who have always seen it haven't seen before. So he is a Brazilian musician. So the majority of the artists we have are visual artists, but we have also musicians and writers. And so he created this local samba band, but what he really did, so this is just a samba outing, and what he also did, he teamed up with traditional Scottish musicians, and we have the best quality of Scottish musicians in our area, and created this band which we call which is called Ceili Amba. So Ceili is a traditional Scottish dancing, and Amba is from the samba, and they came together and created almost this world music band, and I just love it. You know, we're still producing the music, but you should order it from our website once it's there. Okay, so I think what I wanted to tell is a bit, though, these kind of community issues and the fact that we are working very international with the different artists. And the third thing, that the venture that we are sort of more moving into is this whole notion of walking. And walking is something that I have always been a very keen walker, and I think it's a really important part. What's important is not to be understood just as a sport, but also as a cognitive thing. It helps you clear your mind, and it is also a very communal thing. If you walk together, it can be a conflict resolution or something. And I'm now creating another program which is called Walks of Life for all people from all walks of life. And the first one we did is 2 years ago. 1.5 years ago, the UK border walk, because the UK introduced some really ridiculous visa regulations for artists coming from outside Europe, and it makes it really, really difficult for us to get artists that are not from Europe. And so we created this UK border walk. Here it starts actually with a path, but almost everywhere you can't see it. So you have to walk with a GPS over barbed wire the whole time. But so me and an artist did that just to show, you know, how easy for us it is to walk a border. That's the border in the UK between Scotland and England. And the border is really just in people's mind, because they're talking about this English and Scottish the whole time. And since then we have a number of projects. This is a quite well-known walking artist called Hamish Fulton. And another issue in our town is about 40 kilometers away, or 30 kilometers away, actually even nearer, they created a national park, the Cairngorm National Park. And of course, so people are really upset that we are not in the national park because they get so much more money in the national park. But the people in the national park, they're also upset because the house prices go high and they can't build so easily houses anymore for their young people. And so everybody's upset. And so this artist tried to link Huntly with the Cairngorm National Park to show that you still can walk it, you know, even if you're not in the national park. So people are starting first a so-called choreographed walk for 2 hours around the block, and then they walk towards the Cairngorms here. And so eventually he walks kind of on his own. He does that for 21 days. To just show how much wilderness we have actually to play with in our area. And then a project we did last year, a slow marathon. We invited an Ethiopian artist, and as I said, I'm really interested in this international side as well as walking and the community side. And so ideally this artist wanted to walk from Addis to Huntly, but of course it's not possible for all kind of reasons. Geographic reasons, but the main reason is actually the borders. And so what she worked out is 5,850 miles to come from Addis to Huntly. And so she wanted to do these 5,850 miles and asked lots of people to help her accumulate these miles. So this became a 3-month walking project. Here, for example, the school outing, there's 400 children in the school, and they do all 1 mile around a big park. And so they can donate 400 miles. So on our website, people could just log these miles, and people from all over the place. So here she's has a mileage counter walking around, so she knew everything how much. So she did a Zimmer frame counting. So in a old people's home, people were trying to spend a month to accumulate 1 mile, but the whole All People's Home together actually managed to give us 1 marathon. And that's quite empowering for people. This man is our MP, and he is blind, and he walks around the square 7 times until he can donate us 1 mile. And so in the end, she managed to get her 5,000. So we had 1 slow marathon. So slow marathon is you can walk as slow as you like. And actually the winner is the slowest of them all. And this is just a marathon we created. In fact, it was so successful, we're doing it again, but with a different route. So if you fancy coming, 20th of April is the day. You can do a marathon, but you have no pressure of the cleaning van behind you. And then what she also did, because she also has to get back. So she found all the people who signed up to give her shoelaces, and she then created at the same time another marathon in Ethiopia. And the patron was Gabriel Haile Selassie, one of the most famous marathon runners. And so that helped us really in the publicity of the project. And we matched the shoelaces, so here they are just arriving from Ethiopia. And so that we did it on a Saturday. On the Sunday, there was all the Ethiopians walking her back. So she had a good reason to come back home. And that's just me with her, and I get all the leftover medals. Another small walking project. You tell me when I have to finish, yeah? 5 minutes, okay, cool. Spot on. We did this year, this is just a sort of smaller one, there has been a path, but it's completely overgrown, so it's not a path anymore. So this project is called Minor Path, with it was actually more a local artist, Alan McPherson. And he just said, okay, he's trying to get a lot of people, as many people as he could, for one Sunday afternoon and do nothing but this stretch of a path along the river, which is about 700 meters long, walk it up and down for the whole afternoon, and then it is a path again. So that's what we did. And here you see the beginning of the afternoon and at the end of the afternoon. So it's a quite nice small walking project. And that is a most recent one, and then I can kind of finish. That's also in this walking thing is an Austrian artist coming who walks for 14 days, one route around the town. It's a sort of circle around the town, 14 days, always the same route, and he stays overnight and just tries to team up with the farmers. And there was a small school, it was just really very tiny schools, only 15 pupils or something. So he befriends them and manages to get into their school lunches every day. And then he stays with the farmers. And so he walks that same route and then encourages other people to walk with him. It's just to find a way of seeing the landscape differently and how you see the landscape if it becomes familiar. And that's what he was interested in. So very quickly we have written, I have written with a colleague a book. He's called Nuno Sacramento. He's a Portuguese curator. He calls himself shadow curator, and shadow curator is like in the British Parliament you have shadow minister. So his job was to criticize me all the time, and I found this a quite useful tool, shadow curator, because really when you live far away on the edge of contemporary art life, it's quite good to be nudged like this all the time. So we've written this book, and I won't talk much about this, but basically explains all the methodology that we have introduced, and it's called Autocracy. And basically what we're looking at is first the people, and then the context. So the context is the historical context and the physical environment, and the people is the public, is the curator ourselves, the different stakeholders, the artists and the funders. And then we have the various processes, which are, the fundraising and the organizational side, and then is the results. And the results, again, we split into outputs and outcomes, and the outputs are really the events and the books and so that we're creating, and the outcomes is what kind of change we are creating within our community. And so every part is really written in sort of a handbook that everybody could kind of pick up. So this is about quite a lot of graphs with, so this is how I do the fundraising, and also how we look at the context. And again, the project layers, And what I also said at the very beginning, I showed you the picture about the cultural audit, and that's something sort of that can be transferable, that can be brought to to other places, particularly in smaller towns. That's really made for towns up to 10,000, I think, inhabitants. And that is the advocacy which was meant to talk about today. So I think, I don't know where I am with my time, but that's us. And I thank you very much for listening to me.